how are we doing today? Yeah, that's good news. I like to hear that. Yay. Okay, for everybody.
3,500. And our actual answer is 3,100.
There we go. Silencio. Good. Happy Tuesday. What do we got? October 12th. We're 12 days into the third quarter. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. What you're writing today is going to close for Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, right? Have you guys thought about that yet? The year's almost over. Are we planning yet? No? So what we will be doing a goal setting workshop coming up in November. Probably the first 2 weeks, I'll be sending some invites out for that. So we'd like to do some goal setting, talking about what's going on in the market and just getting you a little more in tune with what your next year's goals are, because we got to start planning for next year. We want to finish this year out strong, but we also have to start planning for next year. So first off, let's share screen. We do have a couple guests. We will get with them in just a moment. I just want to do some quick acknowledgments for our top team producers from the sales meeting. So our top team, Team Imagine, congratulations, ladies. Give a hand to all of our top producers. 2 listings, 2 sales, 4 closed units, and most commissions. Congratulations, ladies, for our Sun City location. Dick Wilson, most listings. Sandy Tams, most sales, most units, most closed commissions. Congratulations. Way to go, guys. Thank you so much for all that you're doing there. And for the Apollo Beach location, Kim Perez graced us with a presence today. She's got 3 listings, 5 sales. Aixa, 5 sales. Heidi Seddon, 8 closed sides and most closed commissions. Pretty amazing month for the month of September. Congratulations to all of you. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing. And so with that being said, I want to kind of jump into a really quick video, and then we're going to jump to our guests. What does it take to be a top producer? Throw out some info. Chat it online. Throw out some. What does it take to be a top producer? Throw it out. Open up. What does it take? What's that? Consistency. Very good. You stole hers. You got to come up with another one. What does it take? Chat it in. What does it take to be a top producer? Follow up. Very good. What does it take to be a top producer? Wow, 2 people in here know what it takes to be a top producer. Woohoo! Joe. Desire. You got to have some desire. You got to have a reason. You got to have some passion. You got to have a belief in yourself that you can be a top producer. You have to know that it's possible. If you don't know that it's possible, it's not going to happen. If you confine yourself to your limiting beliefs of what you think is possible, that's all you're going to have available to you. And, you know, I like to talk. I like to tell stories, but I'm going to let this guy tell the story. It's about a 2-minute story. But this is going to go and speak directly to what it takes as far as belief to become something that you want to be. So let's jump in. I hope they don't play an ad. I think I'm where I need to be. Nope.
Hey, y'all, I'm Kate, and this is how you printing helped our business grow. A baby alpaca's called.
Want to be happy?
Okay, good. And that is right over right here. Chat really quick. Work ethic. Absolutely, Nancy. So here, this is what it's going to take to be a top producer. And this is how you how big the belief in yourself actually is.
And there used to be a thing called Toastmasters. I don't know if you remember Toastmasters, but Toastmasters was a local, regional, and a national speaking group for anybody that wanted to get better at speaking. Well, my dad had gone to a Toastmasters early on and heard one of the most successful magazine entrepreneurs in the world speak. He comes back and tells me, I just had a chance to hear one of the most successful magazine entrepreneurs in the world speak. And he said, when are you taking your SAT? I said, I'm taking it next year. He said, well, this guy was failing out of high school. He was struggling. He was raised by a single mom in the Midwest, but he promised his mother he would take a test called the SAT. So he takes the SAT in May, his junior year, doesn't expect anything, gets his score back in June. Now the SAT, which I don't know how many your population know, but it's a standardized test with a math part and a verbal part. Both are scored out of 800 points. Well, this guy takes it. He's bombing. He's failing out of school. He doesn't expect anything as he's telling the story at Toastmasters. But he gets a 1480 out of 1600. So he's stunned, right? That would be for the smart people that listen to your podcast.
Insane, yeah.
Right, cognitive dissonance. Right?
I got a 900 on my SATs, just to give people a frame.
Right, and I got a
990,
and I got a 1010. Right, I was just, hey, 4 digits. It was a miracle, right? And but it's a hard test, and you know it's a variety of different things. So he gets the score, and his mother, doing what any mother would do, knowing her kid, says, "Did you cheat?" right? She knows her son. And he says, I swear to God, I tried to cheat, but the way the numbers were and the scantrons and the bubbles, you couldn't cheat. So she says, you mean to tell me you really got that score? He said, yeah, I got the score. So he's stunned, Tom. So as my dad's telling me the story, I'm like, okay. So he says, all right. So what he decides is, because he realizes he's smart and he's going into his senior year, he says, I'm going to go to class. Now he starts to go to class. He doesn't hang out with who he did when he didn't go to class. All right. Teachers see him in class and they said, hey, maybe Franklin Pierce, maybe we missed the boat on this kid. So they start to treat him differently. Well, as the guy would tell the story, he graduates, goes to a community college, goes on to Wichita State, goes on to the Ivy League, and becomes this massively successful magazine entrepreneur. So I said, okay, well, the guy was always smart. He just needed a standardized test to unlock it. My dad said, no, that's not the story. This is what I want you to understand. He said, 12 years after all this guy's success, he gets a letter in the mail from Princeton, New Jersey. Doesn't think anything about it. The next day, his wife says, you're going to open it. He opens it. True story. Turns out the SAT board will periodically review their test taking procedures and the policies. The year he took the test, he was one of 13 people sent the wrong SAT score. His actual score was a 740 out of 1600. And he said, people think my whole life changed when I got to 1480. But what happened? My whole life changed when I started acting like a 1480. And what does a 1480 do? He goes to class. Well, this is one of the first stories I would share when I had my opportunity at Alabama or Florida State or Georgia. So A, your language is powerful, but number two, your behavior is way ahead of your success. And so many people let their feelings dictate what they do as opposed to throw your behavior out there. Russell Wilson's 5'10". He shouldn't be playing pro football, but he behaves like the best quarterback in the country. And he's done that since before he was at that level. And then his feelings and emotions and his skill caught up to that behavior. I think the lesson my dad was trying to teach me ultimately was, in addition to my language, what I do, not how I feel about my past, is going to determine who I am in the future.
If you want to see the one-on-one I did with Trevor that will change your mindset, check out the
Good story, right? It's even bigger than your actions. It's your belief. He believed that he was a 1480. He believed, wow, all I have to do is apply myself. I'm actually smart. He stopped believing he was stupid. He stopped believing he was his past. He stopped believing he was everything he's been doing up until that point. He believed that something else was possible for him. He believed there was a different opportunity ahead of him, and that ahead of him was everything that he could create for himself. I showed up, I did this, I created it. What else can I do? And he continued to do that, and come back to believe that it had nothing to do with that standardized test. It was all the belief in him, because the test was literally the same thing he had been producing his entire life. So you have to start with a belief. You hear me ask you all the time, do you think it's possible? Can you do it? What does Henry Ford say? Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. Whatever you think on, act on, believe on to a strong enough point with your emotions that get involved, that is what's your outcome. We don't get what we want, we get who we are. We get what we will tolerate, and we get who we are. So what you tolerate in your life is who you are. That's who you become, whatever you're going to tolerate. We don't get what we want. I could ask you all, I've asked you a million times, who wants to be a millionaire? Who wants a big house, a big boat, travel, whatever those things are? Who wants those things? Why don't you have them? Because you don't get what you want. You get what you will tolerate. You've tolerated this life long enough. Now it's time to start believing that you have something ahead of you. Start believing that you're a 1480 in real estate. Start believing that you can do all of the things that you wanted to do in real estate, and say that it's possible. The word impossible actually means I'm possible. There's nothing that's impossible. You are possible. You just have to believe it. That's just a quick little message I wanted to share with you before we bring up our guests. I'm going to start with Dusty. Dusty, where's the microphone?
It would be right here.
So Dusty with FBI Inspections. Go ahead, talk to us, girl. What do you got for us?
Hey, guys. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So first of all, thank you, Chris, for allowing me to come in today. My name is Dusty, and I'm with Florida Building Inspection Group, or AKA the FBI. And I'm honored to be back here. It's been a while. I have to say that. So I hope we don't have to wait so long for me to come back. But one of the things that we've done with you as a group down here is we have brought out the mammography bus. So you all have this in front of you. So this is not just for you, the agents. This is for you to utilize. So how can anybody tell how you would utilize it? Inviting your friends, your family, your customers, right? Let's reach out to them. It's a great way to reach out and just say, hey, I'm not asking anything of you. I just wanted to alert you of a community event that we're doing here at Century 21 in Apollo Beach. All you have to do is come down and register for, or go out to, Advent, it's a mouthful. I'm sorry. Advent Health Mobile Mammography. And you go out to that website and register. Now, the good thing about this, one, it's 3D. Two, for the month of October, they discount the rate to $30 if you are somebody, who does not have healthcare insurance. And if you have crappy healthcare insurance, I highly recommend you go in as a self-pay. Just pay the $30, be done with it. So one of the things that it's really important that you understand about the mammograms, and I can't tell you year after year, 1 to 2 people come off of the bus and they have found that they have had breast cancer and undiagnosed breast cancer. You have one in your office that sat with me and didn't make it to the mammo bus, but right after that had a conversation with me and said, I think I have something going on, but I'm scared to death. I sat there, made a call for doctor, get an appointment, and she went in, and sure enough, she had breast cancer. So it's not a joke. Like, women are scared. They're scared to find out. Don't let that be your customer, your friend. Look next to you. You don't know what her ideas or thoughts are about getting a mammogram. So it's really important that we're having these conversations, and that is why we have gotten behind this initiative and really just brought it into the community. So if you're over 40, no prescription needed. You can't get involved in registering them. I'm just going to tell you that because it is HIPAA laws. So you have to send them out to the Advent Health Mobile Mammography website and have them register themselves. Now, what you can do, and this I've seen work tremendously. We have 36 appointments. We have 5 scheduled in this office. So we got a long way to go. But $30. So if you call a client, a friend, or mother, sister, whatever, and they say, I'm just struggling right now and I can't afford it, it's $30, ladies and gentlemen. Do them a favor, offer to sponsor it. We always offer 2 scholarships ourselves. Typically when the title company's in the room, they also will offer 2 scholarships. So we can start out with 4. I had just had an office pay for everybody got a free mammo. So just thinking about that, how does that sound when you call your customers and you say to them, hey, we're offering free mammos at Century 21. And if everybody pitched in too, you could take care of the entire day. And that's how you would present yourself as a community liaison and concerned about your community.
How many appointments are there available?
We have 31 left. So, and we've had teams do their own database and call and offer, 3 to 4 scholarships where everybody on the team pitched in and they took care of their own clients. So there's a lot of different ways that you can move this to work to your advantage. So don't keep it a secret because it's really not supposed to be a secret. The reason of bringing the mammo bus is so that it's easy for the ladies to schedule, get on, get off. It literally takes 10 minutes, right? Where sometimes when you go into one of the facilities, you're there for 45 minutes to an hour. So, questions?
What's the date?
It is October the 27th. The bus will be here about 8 o'clock. It starts at 8:30 to scan. They do accept walk-ins, but I'm going to tell you, last year, 2 of my buses, I had to turn them away. So don't encourage the walk-ins. Yes.
I don't know. I don't have a message.
They do send it away, not away, but it's Advent Health. It goes back to their server. They read it. You receive a notification, whether it was a good scan or a negative scan, and then how to proceed. Yep. Yes. If you give it to them, and yes. And the other thing is if you have a past mammo that you've had done elsewhere, you would probably want to tell them where that was done. They can get that information and compare the two.
So online, how do you make an appointment? So we shared this out last week. We will share this again out. There will be a PDF attached to an email that has all of this information with the link to go online and schedule an appointment for October 27th. So that will go out again after this meeting.
And if you need to, you can just go to FLBI group Facebook page. It's right there. You can just grab it and share it. So it's under events. Yes. Did you have a question? Okay. Yes, ma'am. So,
And that's what I was going to say. You know, we will, as an office, if I have to do it myself, we'll do that. I'll sponsor all of the appointments for this month. So your job is to go out and tell people they have the free opportunity to make sure they can get checked and be healthy. So what I will make sure that they are all sponsored. It's less than $1,000 to ensure that your friends, your family, your customers are looked after, cared for, and made sure that they are healthy and they're okay and they have that opportunity and they're not scared because they're going to have people with them. So they will all be sponsored. They'll all be free. I'll make sure that's taken care of.
I love that. You guys have a best boss. Let me tell you. May I just take a minute?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I just wanted to let you know that we have expanded in a very huge way. So we have put inspectors from Hernando County to Collier, from the water over to Polk. So we have now 13 inspectors on our team to serve you. I don't know what kind of turnaround time you have, but we're at 24 hours to get you on the books, get you scheduled, get your inspection reports back to you. So I want to let you know I'm available to have conversations. I know this is the time of year where you actually are looking at your vendors and what you're doing for 2022. And I'm available to sit down and have a conversation with you. I would love to get to know you guys. There's a lot of new faces in the room. And, you know, we're great business partners. You can check us out online at FLBI Group. We have over 2,000 plus 5-star reviews. You don't get that from just being a fly-by-night home inspection company. So we would appreciate the opportunity of re-engaging with your office. And Chris, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thank you so much for taking care of everybody with the memo. We really appreciate that.
You are welcome.
So, thanks.
Thank you, Dusty. So again, we'll send this out digitally and it will be free for everybody. For anybody that comes in, they do have to go online, schedule that appointment, and we'll make sure that those are all taken care of for them. And we'll take those proper steps. So then our next guest, we have Doraine Myers with WE INSURE. And we wanted to give her a hand. Thank you so much for coming up. We wanted to bring her in here because we've heard some amazing, wonderful things about her. She's presented to our other offices and services, other agents of ours within the Beggins company. They have nothing but praises for her. And we do not, as most everybody knows, we do not have an insurance agent that is, for lack of better words, sticks around. Like for some reason, the insurance people that have come around have been flaky, and we've had nothing but praises that she is not that. So we want to make sure that she has an opportunity to continue to service our company the way she has the other offices. So Doraine, come on up. And plus, there's so many changes going on in insurance. You need to be abreast, and you need to have someone, a trusted resource that you can ask, openly call, text, email, ask questions to, and have someone that's there, that's your right-hand person in this business. And we do feel that she can be that person for you. You will have to hold that. Let me see.
Yeah.
It's on. You just need to, it's directional. So just talk directly straight into it.
Okay. I haven't used one of these. So
You will have to hold it up. You will have to hold it up
This
like
way.
a microphone.
how's that?
Good.
All right. So we are here right here in Apollo Beach. We've been here for years. Some of you may know Glenn McGaha, who owns the agency. I've been there for years, and we do have another agent in there that you can actually ask questions to if I'm not around, and that's Faith Lang. So she's in the office as well. I put a few notes on here because I tend to ramble. So I want to try and keep on track. So our main goal is to help you sell more homes. We're not saying, hey, come use us because we're local people. We want to help you sell more homes. So, it's not a big, it's not a big promo to come use us. But
You have to hold the mic closer. That way, the people online, we have 40 people online that want to make sure they can hear you.
all right. So sorry about that. I I don't do microphones. So the way we do this is by helping you understand the trends that are currently going in the market today. What's going on right now, obviously, there's a lot of stuff with roofs and with floods. So normally what I do is kind of go through a 4-point and look for the things that insurance companies are looking for. But that's something I can do at another time if you guys want to have me back. But today, the main goal is to talk about flood and the current changes and how that's going to affect how you present to your clients and sell houses. So we are all used to getting elevation certificates. I know that there's been some things on social media saying that you no longer need them. It's not necessarily true, and I don't like to make that assumption. There are cases where it could be useful, but right now, it's really not, especially if you're in an X-flood zone. That's where the biggest change has taken place. So just for an instance, over here off Big Bend, I'm sure you're all familiar with the area. Right behind the high school, back in that area, those houses, $3,000 for flood. So no longer, hey, what's it going to be for flood for me? Oh, $572. Nope, $3,000.
Is that a required insurance, or is that if they wanted to optionally enroll?
So far, not required. Yeah, so far, not required. But yeah, somebody had called me up and said, hey, well, you know, I'm interested in getting flood insurance. I live down over here. So I ran it real quick. And of course, it's, you know, X flood zone, $3,000. Just running, yeah, there is no longer preferred flood zone and high risk flood zone. It is A, it is B, it is AE, it is X. It's all, well, it's always been a flood zone because that's why it's called X. But now it's distance to coast. They've changed the way they're doing rating. All the subsidies that we've enjoyed for years are now gone. So we're no longer paying for the nice rich people in Madeira Beach to have a nice big beach house and pay $600. They're paying the same amount as all of us are. The major thing to think about right now, when you go to someone, let's say you're representing a seller and they're on the water. If they have a current NFIP policy, get their declarations page. Give that to whoever's going to buy the house so they can give it to the insurance agent. They're going to get credit right now for having that. So there was a deal down off Bimini Court, $5,000 for insurance. And of course, you know, it always comes up, everybody wants to, well, we've got a better policy, we're going to assume the current policy. Even though that's always been done, that policy always came up to the current NFIP rates that were being rated for it anyway. Even if they assumed it, you got through your closing, that property, let's say that current declarations page that the current policy, that they assumed came due 2 months after they assumed it. It got re-rated anyway at the current rate on the renewal. So it didn't really save them anything. It just got you through a closing. Now, if you get that current declarations page, so like I said, it was $5,000. I got the current declarations page. I plugged in the information for the NFIP. It went down to $1,800.
So their rate that they would have got if they got a new policy would have been $5,000, but because they were able to assume the current owner's policy, it dropped down to $1,800.
They didn't assume it. They gave us proof of coverage from the NFIP. So they're giving credit, they're giving discounts for having a current NFIP policy.
Okay.
And it's not on you. Elevation certificates have always followed the home. So it's not, you know, it's not the person purchasing it per se. It's the home itself had NFIP coverage. So think of that. Insurance policies really aren't. I mean, it's not a HIPAA violation to share them. People never want to because it's their personal stuff, but honestly, it's public knowledge for the most part. So if anybody has an issue with it, it is what it is today. It follows the house, and it always has. I would still get the elevation certificate. I would still turn that in if one exists. But for right now, just get the current declarations page and let the insurance agent be able to get a good deal on the property.
If you have any questions online while Doreen is talking, please chat them in. We'll make sure we go over them. If you have any questions in the room, we will get to that portion of it so she can answer them. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. So I just wanted to check my notes on the rating. So there's no more grandfathering. There really was no grandfathering in this area anyway, although people talked about it. It was just subsidies that were on the properties. So the other thing, that's actually the most important part of the right now in the AE flood zones. In Oldsmar, there's a part of Oldsmar that got re-rated this year. It's now an AE flood zone and it was an X. So I've had a lot of people calling me, even from Oldsmar, they need flood insurance. Their flood insurance, again, is over $2,000, somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000. And this was built without, they didn't build up, it's built on a slab. So there's no elevation certificate you can get. There's nothing you can do. It's $2,000. I have private market flood. Private market flood for those areas was like $900. It's still a lot. It's not 572 like we paid, but it's a little better opportunity. And what the NFIP wanted to do is spread the risk around. They don't want to take all the risk anymore. So that's so unless you have any other questions on the flood, I mean, that's pretty much it.
What about areas like, I'll use the ones that are here. South Shore Falls, Harbor Isles are in an AE flood zone, but they have a letter of exception that says they don't require flood insurance. Do those letters of exception still carry over?
That's up to the lender. So the NFIP, South Shore Falls, I just ran one in there. It's $5,000 to get a new policy.
So it's up to the lender to determine whether they're going to require it based on the letter of exception in place and current flood zone that's there and what they want to do?
Yeah.
Have you seen any instances like that where a community, something similar to that, did not require flood insurance and now a lender has told them you're going to need it? Have you seen anything like that?
Not in the case of a community like South Shore Falls,
Okay.
but like I said, the community in Oldsmar, yes. They're an ex-flood zone. They became AE. Part of South Shore Falls pulls up as X when we pull it in. Some still pull up as AE, depends on when they were built, but that's because of the Loma letter that went in and everything else. So,
Okay.
But again, if you have a current policy, anybody who has flood insurance now, when you do renew, you're going to get on your renewal, you're going to get an option. It'll say rating 2.0 or current NFIP. You have the option to still check that current NFIP at least up until March 31st. Flood rates have always renewed around April 1. The new rates and all that stuff comes out. So we're not quite sure what's going to happen after March 31st. But from now until then, what I'm saying.
What does checking that box do? Like if was it a current NFIP or flood 2.0, what will checking that box do for that current owner who has a flood policy?
Your current rating. So they're going to rate you at the 2.0. Otherwise, you're going to stay technically grandfathered until March 31st.
And that's supposed to increase every year till it gets up to a capped rate?
Well, we don't know exactly what they're doing. We just know what's going on right now. Because it's the government. They're going to do what they want. But
Hold on 1 second. Yeah, 1 second. Go ahead.
oh, okay. So in those, well, like I said, in those areas currently, most people have NFIP policies. They're going to be fine for now. I had a client blowing up my phone because he lives on the water and he's concerned with how much his rates are going to go up. Those of you currently getting renewals are probably only going to see a $200 increase in that amount somewhat. So you should be fine. But again, March 31st is, the target date for a lot of this stuff. 2.0, they start rating you 1 floor versus 2 floor, frame versus masonry. So if you have a 1-story house and let's say your garage sits a little bit lower than your house, well, with an elevation certificate, you know that, but your hot water heater, your air handler, all that stuff's in your garage. You're rated at your garage base level at this point. they're not rating you. They're not rating you by an elevation certificate that shows anything. But if it's elevated a little higher and off the floor, that's why I'm saying I wouldn't do away with elevation certificates yet, because if you can prove that it's your hot water heater and other machinery is up higher, it might help you. Putting flood vents in the garage right now, because we all know all these houses built 70s, 80s on the canals, they don't have vents in their garages.
Yep.
So if we do that, if they put vents in, that will help them. But yeah, currently, one of their questions is your hot water heater raised above your base floor? Which means if you have a one-story house, they want that hot water heater in your attic, which it's going to do. So that's the only way you're going to get a discount, is putting it in your attic. But then your homeowner's insurance will probably go.
Yeah. Kim, you had a question. Did you want to ask some?
The 2.0 is the new rating system. And that's where they're going to start rating you based on, again, frame versus masonry, all that stuff. So you have the right now all the flood is running through their 2.0 system. Everything that we're quoting. That's why with that current deck page, by being able to key in the information on that current declarations page, I can get that in there and it will actually revert it back to the current rates that are being done now.
So for a new homeowner buying a new home, they should request the current owner's declaration page if they have one. It should help them potentially. But for someone that owns a home that is renewing, you're saying there's going to be an option for them to go to the 2.0 or the current NFIP, and they'll have to choose which one they're going to renew at.
Correct.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
I highly suggest
the
doing
current,
that.
the current NFIP policy is the one that's going to gradually increase and go up. As of now, we don't know what's going to change, but the plan is gradually go up till it reaches a capped rate. That's what the current status shows for the time being. So gradually going up to $10,000 instead of checking the box to go to the 2.0, which would automatically go to the $10,000, is probably the best option.
Yeah, that's.
Jackie? And I'm going to repeat the questions for online. So real. Pre and post firm, is there any difference between pre and post firm? Okay.
Yeah.
So
everything.
I just want to make, because we have 40 people online, I just want to make sure they understand what the question is, what the answer is. Pre and post firm homes. We all know pre-firm, pre-flood insurance rate maps, post-flood insurance rate maps. Pre-firm homes typically are a little bit higher price. The post-firm typically are a little bit lower generally, but that's all going away.
All gone. All gone. No.
Wouldn't someone be better off to go with private flood is the question.
Right. So private flood, in AE flood zones, you're not getting a major discount. If you're in the X flood zone, you will get a little better rating than the $3,000. So when you have a private market flood policy, it adheres to everything it needs to adhere to, and it's fine, and they're stable, and they actually pay out a little better than you're going to get from NFIP. I don't think they've paid all of Harvey claims out yet, to be honest. There might be a few Katrina claims still not paid. But, you know, they're relying on the government to stay solvent. So when the government is right, you know, in the middle of all their budget cuts, we've actually had the NFIP shut down, where we weren't able to bind the policy until the budget came back online again. So yeah, it gets a little weird, but you know, they usually end up funding them and they usually end up paying out. But every policy pays out differently. You don't get loss of use with the NFIP. With private market flood, you do. With private market flood, you get, if you have damage to your swimming pool, you get help with that. You don't get that anywhere else. So there's benefits to having private market. But what NFIP does to scare you, they're giving you a discount. So you keep your policy, you have proof of having NFIP proof. You go to private market, now you want to come back to NFIP. There's no grant, you're done. You start at the rates. So there's no proof of prior anything. You're not getting discounts anymore.
Is there any other risk to private policy compared to NFIP?
They could be insolvent. Most of them are not. Most of them are backed. There's a lot of them backed by Lloyd's of London that, they've been around forever. I don't see them going away anytime soon.
Now, will some of the private policies in order to mitigate some of their potential losses, damages, payouts, they're not going to just insure everybody. So they're going to try and spread their risk out. So if they reach a cap that they want to be at in an area with private flood, because everybody went and did that, and you go in after that, you're not going to be able to get a private policy because they don't want to become insolvent and they want to be able to pay out policies if it does ever happen. So that is a potential downfall to that. It may not be available, and they're probably not going to be available in some areas because of that greater risk. And they're saying, look, you already have an option. We're not jumping into that.
Well, they price themselves out of the market too. So they'll be higher than NFIP.
So the question is, a home built in the 60s and 70s that 1 foot below base flood, and then a home built 15, 20 years later that's 6 feet above the base flood, because of the pre and post not really being an issue and elevation certificates not playing as big of a factor, what's the real difference now with those two homes being right next door to each other?
That's why I'm saying that don't discount the elevation certificate. So they're still going to rate, they're rating distance to coast, they're still going to give you credit for not being at base flood. So that's when I see the posts on social media and I see people saying, oh, you no longer need elevation certificates, it's a misnomer. Here, around the canals here, it's not going to help anybody. They're 2 feet below, if that. I've seen some 3 feet below, but most of them are 2 feet. So, and a lot of people, I just want to throw one little thing a little off topic in there. So pretty much the way FEMA rates, and they've got the base flood listed at 10 feet. I mean, things have settled. Things have, so it might be 9 feet at this point or 8 feet. But bottom line is the base flood is for that 100-year storm. Where is it going to flood? At 10 feet. So if your house sits at 7 feet, you're probably going to have 3 feet of water in your house if we get that 100-year storm. So when you're up in higher levels and you see that sign over there that says 18 feet, that's 18 feet from that level, not 18 feet from 10 feet here. So most of the houses up here are at 33 feet. The houses down here are at 8 feet. So I know a lot of people got really scared when Irma came through and all these posts on social media, and have you seen that sign? It's 18 feet. Well, that's not base flood. Base flood here is 10. So if we had that 10-foot storm surge, it wouldn't have made it across the street. It would have probably just stayed right here if we're sitting at 10. If we've settled since they did those maps, it could be, 1 or 2 feet that make it over there. So that's kind of how they did the base flood. And NFIP was rating things from history, what happened in this area. So, okay, by this history, but now they're looking at the future. We have larger, bigger storms coming through. The likelihood of a bigger storm hitting this area and doing damage is a lot greater than it was 20, 30 years ago. And they want to spread the wealth out to the other markets so that they're not suffering the whole of all the damage if anything comes up. So,
Any other questions on one question? Does NFIP take longer to pay out? It's government. They take longer to do everything.
They do.
They're trying to balance a budget from 4 years ago. So
Yeah, they've been insolvent since Katrina. So they're constantly having to fund them and give them money to make the claims pay.
which is the reason for these changes. It's a government organization that's paying out more than what it's taking in. Something has to change. I know that's kind of redundant to say it's a government organization paying up, but that something has to change. And it's not, people are saying, well, that's not fair. I get it. It's not what it was then, but you're still on the water and you have a greater risk and you have to pay a portion of what that risk is. And unfortunately, the payment that was being made before did not keep everything up to standard. And if it stays at that rate, no one's going to have coverage. So it's, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And a few years back when I believe it was the real estate people who lobbied, thank you, because that helped significantly because they were stripping off these rates at that point in time. The rates were going to what we're seeing now. But then they took the last 5 years and slowly took them off so that it wasn't a big shot all at once. So now they're gone altogether. And now there's a different way of doing flood. But whereas, again, the FEMA NFIP flood didn't pay out a lot of stuff, there's actually a lot more coverage you're going to get and a lot more value with the private market companies. But it's like anything else. I mean, we had Gulfstream that came in a few years ago here to the state of Florida. They're, you know, all gung-ho, give us everything, give us everything. And the last year they didn't write a policy and then they went insolvent. So just, you know your companies, keep an eye on things, but, you know, anybody could go belly up, you never know.
What number should I put in the chat for them to call? Do you want the office number, a mobile
Yes,
number?
please,
Office number? Yep.
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
no, mine was personal.
I got you. I got you. No worries.
So,
So I put that in there and I'm going to put in her email as well. I'm going to send it out after the meeting as well. You have some
I've got
cards.
some cards. I'll leave
So
some cards.
Doraine will give out some cards to everybody. Again, she's right here. She's local, but she can write anywhere for any of your clients. She's got coverage. You heard her talk about Oldsmar, anywhere in this greater area. She can definitely help them out.
Texas, Tennessee, Florida.
So, yep. So not just the state of Florida. We insure.
Yeah.
We insure.
Yeah. We had a big sign right across the street that nobody ever sees.
They're right over on Franderson
Yeah.
Circle right there, right off the boulevard. So if your people wanted to go in and see someone there, they're local, they're easy to touch and easy to get a hold of. Every time I've reached out to her, she's got right back to me. Like I said, she's already done work with a lot of people in the Brandon office. They've nothing but praises about her. And I want to be able to bring someone that can provide value to you that's been in the business, that's going to continue to be in the business. And Doraine has proven herself. So give her a shot. Have your customers reach out to her. What information do you typically need to help someone with a flood policy, homeowner's policy? What's the best way to set that up and get them started?
Sending an email with the information, because all the insurance companies right now are doing insurance scoring. So they're taking demographic information behind the scenes. They're taking the date of birth, their current address, and their name, and they're matching it. If they don't match it, then they call it a no-hit. And it's not looking at your credit. It's just matching you to basic data that's public knowledge. So they've got that all in there. And if we don't have the right information, we're getting higher rates than if we had the correct information.
So name, phone number, first name, last name, phone number, email. She needs that just like you need it to be able to contact them and talk with them. Date of birth, property address. If you have a current declarations page, provide it. If you have a current elevation certificate, provide it. All of that will only benefit her ability to write them the best policy.
4-point wind mitigation.
There's the other two for the regular policies.
Yeah. So yeah, sometime when you guys have more time, I'll go into the.
Oh, we'll do another one and bring you back in to do to go into in depth into the 4 points and wind mits, and we could talk about those. Absolutely.
Yeah, those are big hot topics now too, and it's impossible to get insurance.
Good. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming in. No, yeah, you're good. We're getting to that point, so I won't take any more of your time. We take about 45 minutes. So thank you so much for everybody that engaged. You will get the Florida Mammo Bus from FBI that'll be going out. You will get Doraine's contact information into an email. Please feel free to reach out to her and just reach out to us. Let us know if you need anything. Have a happy Tuesday, and we will talk with you all soon. Have a great day.